Hello back guys to the next part of our series, part 16. Who thought we're actually getting here, huh? Finally, no more modeling. We're past that point, we're past part 15. And we finally can do something else, learn new skills in Blender. But before we do that, let me thank you so much for getting to 45 subscribers. That's amazing, honestly. While I was editing the last video, we were 38 subscribers, and now we jumped to 45. That to me is absolutely insane. Thank you so much. And you know what? That goal that I was setting up in my brain to get to 50 is almost there, so let's get there. Let's do it. And afterwards, let's get to 100. I'm sure we can do this. And for that, let me just thank you so much. Also, if you would like, please leave a like on this video, leave a comment, tell me what you think about this series, what you think about this channel, and if you actually met any problems along the way, if you have any other questions, or if you have any other ideas for other series or other videos, or anything else really. And also, please, if you would like, share these videos with your friends and close ones. Maybe they will actually like it, and maybe they will actually get into 3D and you can be best 3D buddies and stuff. So, with that being said, I just want you guys to know I really appreciate everything you did. I would appreciate if you would subscribe if you're not subscribed. And with this all being said, let us jump right into the video. Alright, so here we are finally. No more modeling. We're done with that. So, today's video is mostly going to be centered around UV Unwrapping. This is not gonna be a 1 hour video or anything crazy like that. We're gonna stick back to 25-30 minutes videos. I think this is better. Let me know if you liked more the other version of longer videos, like an hour. I will definitely do that if you like it. But I just think it's easier for you guys to follow if the information is a little more condensed. So that being said, the next part really would be for us to texture our model, right? And for texturing, actually, there are a few methods of doing it, and I'm actually going to show all of those to you because I think it's important for you to know them, and after that, choose which one you prefer. But before you texture, we actually need to do the UV unwrapping of our bodies. And there are a few reasons for it. First, if anyone did Blender before, um, you know that Blender has the shading tab right here, right? Oh, actually, let me activate the screencast because for the first time I remembered before starting clicking stuff, and that's cool. Okay, go to shading tab, and this is where it gets us. We have a HDRI in the background to kind of see the lighting that affects our materials, and also two tabs that honestly I'm always closing. So what we find here is well, basically the same thing, right? Like a viewport where we see our object, and again an HDRI that you can see right here. And if you want to change the HDRI to match a little more with what you want for your lighting, you go down here and the view tab, I think, the viewport shading, sorry, and press on the HDRI, and then you have more options that Blender gives you. Also, you can download HDRIs and their add-ons that will get for HDR, like they give you HDRIs. And we'll talk all about that when we actually get to do the materials and rather actually the lighting. But what I'm here to talk about is this part right here, right? You might have seen something similar when I showed you the GeoCables, um, add-on in the geometry nodes, because it's where the nodes are, right? And basically this is kind of the same idea, but this is just implied for the textures and for the materials you will put on our object. So let's, for example, just to show you a little bit, actually, I think the cables already do have, well, apparently they don't. Oh yeah, no, the connectors have. So we can see for the connectors, they actually do have materials. And if we can get just a little closer, you can kind of see the connectors, have their own thing. Now the reason this did not show up, like, look, if I press on this one or on the main cylinder, there's gonna be nothing because it shows you the material that is on the body. Because this is a geometry node created body, and basically you set the material there, and it's a little more complicated, and we'll get to that some later at some later parts. But for now, let's just stick to this, right? So we see what the materials are right here for our body. And for example, if we press on new, it's gonna give us a new material. And we can call this main cylinder. And basically what Blender comes in, well, if you have Blender 4.0, that is, because Blender 3.6, which is the previous version of Blender, doesn't have the principal BSDF like this. It's a little bigger, and it looks a little different. Basically what they did is, just put a little subtabs for us, and also it's a little more precise with the numbers and the colors, so it's making our materials look a little better. But what does this do, right? Well, basically we have the base color, which we can change to our liking. So let's put this red, for example. Then you have the metallic, which a metallic body has a value of 1, right? As you can see, it acts like a metallic body, right? It looks like that. It's reflecting the light a little more. It's easy. But what I want you to understand is a body can be either non-metallic or metallic. There's no in between. So what I'm trying to say is this value right here, you have to choose if it's 0 or 1. You shouldn't put it in between. In my beginning, I was doing that. I was kind of always setting this to like 0.2 or something, and it made no sense. So always choose either metallic, either non-metallic. Now we go to the roughness. Roughness, well, it kind of tells you by itself. It plays with the roughness of the body. So if we make this, we put this all the way up, it's like super matte, right? Because I mean, it's fully rough. The light cannot be reflected on the surface. So if we actually turn this off to 0, the light is super reflected because again, there's no roughness. It's almost like, a plastic, a very, very fine plastic. And if we turn the metallic up and we have that, look at this. It looks like a super, super metallic, I don't know, car, for example. Like, that's exactly the vibe. The IOR, well, we don't really play with this too much. Just if you really know what you're doing. To be totally honest, I don't. For example, pixelandpoly.com. I'm gonna put this link in the description. It's the link where you can take it. Again, I don't really do this, but if you want to really be, actually we might do it for this one. I just want to see how it looks, if it changes anything. But yeah, you get, the values that you should have to your IOR to look a little better, and that's kind of good. Alpha, again, we don't really touch it. It's basically if you want the alpha to actually be read or not by Blender, we'll leave it on. Subsurface, and to be totally honest with you, the one that you really will have to play with the most are these two values, and actually the normal. I think the normal, roughness, and metallic, and of course base color, right, are the 4 most important part of the principal BSDF. All right, the subsurface. Now the subsurface is pretty cool, also, and I'm gonna show a picture of a lamp I created. Now, what subsurface does, right? It's basically allowing the light to go a little through your body in like a realistic manner. Like, when you put your hand against the sun, and the edges of your fingers will be a little red. Well, that's the effect basically that a subsurface does. So subsurface light, it's basically exactly that. And yes, we can change this. And the lamp that I just showed you is actually a good example of that. Specula, again, it plays a lot with the IOR, And again, I never really touch it, but really you don't have to, because I'm gonna show you in just a second. Actually, let me just show you right now. At the material part right here, right in the right, check the material dot, and basically you have the principal BSDF, right? Well, you can click on it, and well, as you can see, you get way more options, right? You can get a hair BSDF, a glossy BSDF, a glass BSDF, a diffuse BSDF, and I'll show you here, right? Shift A and add a diffuse BSDF, and you know what? Let me Control right click to cut nodes, and let me Alt right click to insert this in there. And by the way, this only works if you have the Node Wrangler add-on. So for those that don't know, if you didn't watch the first few videos, which you should by the way, you have to have the Node Wrangler. I think it's a must really, because it's such a useful add-on. It's one of the best. So the diffuse doesn't really seem like doing too much, but basically how I'm referring to it anyway, it's more like the cartoon, um, the cartoon shader. Because if you ask me, this is what diffuse does, right? Diffuse doesn't let you control like reflection and refraction and so on and so not. You basically just control the color, and that's kind of it. Like, yes, you can kind of play with roughness, but as you can see, roughness 0 doesn't mean your light is reflected or anything. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I'm entering this a big part just about the materials, which is not the point of this, right? I'm gonna present the principal BSDF a little more in the future, but for now, what we do actually need to understand is we have this. This is basically doing everything procedural, right? So the real question will be, why do we need to UV unwrap our body? Well, first, I think it's important for us to understand what UV unwrap really means and what it does. So let us Shift C to put our cursor in the center and get a beautiful cube out there. Good, we have it. And Tab to go into edit mode. Press 2 to have the edge selection, and select, well, kind of all faces. So Shift Alt, or actually just Shift left click for this one. And you can also select just the faces really. It doesn't matter because it's going to have to select all the edges. So we select this, right? For a cube, it doesn't necessarily have to do this, but I will show you just how to do the seams for the UV unwrap. And don't get scared by all these terms. We'll talk about all of them. So basically, by pressing Ctrl E, we'll have a new option menu right here, and press on the mark seam. And now you can see some red edges formed, right? This is because these are, we assign these edges as our seams, right? And what we have to do is press A, U, and unwrap. And they seem to really have done nothing. However, though, it actually did do something. So to take a new screen, what you do is get to the corner, and you have to see the mouse just like that, like a little target or cross or something. So not moving it like this, not the arrows, but a cross. So get this to wherever you want, and up here in the editor type, we can choose different really different menus. So basically the tabs up here are exactly what we see right here. So you have the UV editor, the image editor. Well, those are not up there, but the compositor is up there. As you can see, the compositing, texture node editor also I don't think is there. If I'm not mistaken, no, it is. It's the texture paint one. Geometry node editor, it's right there. Shader editor is the one we've been in, and so on and so forth. But we need a UV editor, right? And again, nothing really seems to have happened. But if we select our body, and let me not, okay, and press A to select all the faces, now we do actually see something. So we see our body, and it's unwrapped, right? Well, what unwrap really means is basically take your cube and cut it to make it from a 3D object to basically put a 3D object on a 2D plane. You have to cut it so it actually makes sense for a texture to be for an image to be put on. So the way I want you to think about is really, and I think this is one of the best examples. I'll give you two examples. But the first one is, you know, when you unwrap a present and you you wrap the present, sorry, and you wrap the box, and you have to, get a box that is basically a 3D object and use a paper, which is a basically 2D plane or a 2D image in our case, and wrap it around our 3D objects to cover it. That's exactly what a texture does for us in Blender, basically, right? Unless it's a procedural one, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So basically, you want that image to unveil your body, to basically be wrapped around it. But when you don't really know how to wrap up the gift box, that basically it's gonna not look too good because you see, the corners because you couldn't do them really right. That's basically exactly what this does. But instead of wrapping the image around the box, what this does is cutting the box so that it fits the image. All right? So basically this grid behind right here, this is our wrapping paper, and this is the box that we've cut from every corner that we needed to be able to be put plain so that the image can be put on it. All right? Another very good example, in my opinion, is this. This image right here is the best definition of unwrapping. Basically, a 3D object, which is basically a human-like object, right, was, uh, having a 2D image on it, so that it makes it look like a 3D Santa with colors and stuff. Like the 3D Santa normally would look like this, right? Well, when we unwrap it, the image looks like this. This is what we do. This is exactly what a texture does. It's taking an image and putting it over our body. But our body, again, is 3D. Yeah, you can't do that because the texture will not know where to follow and where to cut itself so it goes right, and it will stretch out and it doesn't know what to do. And actually, we can try this just to have a little fun. This is how the cube will come by default. It's already unwrapped because it's a simple geometry. Blender does it automatically, but we also unwrapped it. So actually a cube would not be a super good idea because, Blender will know. So I'm gonna edit it a little bit and then come right back to you guys. All right, so we have two separate bodies. Let's shade them auto smooth, both of them. And all right, and let's just go here. Let's find like I don't know, metal plate. Something like this actually would work. Okay. We don't care. Again, this is just for our understanding. This is just a small example. So the way we do it is, select your body, go to the shading, and also if you hear screwdriver, apparently my neighbor likes to work at these hours. I don't think you do here though. Good. So we have to create a new material and go to image, right? And what we have to do, well, basically we have to put some nodes in, but if you have the node wrangler applied, just press on the image texture and press Ctrl T, and it will bring out the texture coordinate and the mapping just like that. And now get the texture from the image and put it in the base color. And well, it makes it just black because there's no color there, so it doesn't know what to put. So basically we have to go to wherever we have our texture, and we see this. And this doesn't look that bad. Like, the corners, it knows where to cut it, because again, this has, if we make it metallic and with just a little bit of a roughness, it actually looks quite okay. But again, the problem is this is unwrapped already, so that's why it looks pretty good. If we put the same exact material on this, look what happens. It's absolutely destroyed because it basically takes the same image and tries to stretch it, not knowing where to go, because again, this is not cut, this is not unwrapped, it doesn't know where to put it. So just for fun, let's take this edge for example, mark it as a seam, and then unwrap it like this. And now it's changed it. Why? Well, if we actually get a UV editor up here, we will see the image in the back, and this is the mesh. This is this thing's mesh. I don't even know what it is, honestly. And basically, it's trying its best to do what we need it to, but it can't because it just doesn't know what to do. It's honestly kind of lost. And so you need to give it more seams. You need to tell it, oh, this is how I should unwrap. And look, this looks, well, not good yet, but it looks better. It knows a little bit where to go because we did tell it to, okay, follow this part and follow that and follow this and that. It knows where to cut and where to not, where to not stretch itself. So also a cool little trick, if you don't want to, stay and select. Usually sharp edges are always gonna be seams. So you can go to select and select sharp edges, and Blender will select them automatically for you. And then let's make all these as seams, and then A and unwrap. And now it looks much more okay. Okay? But again, not perfect because the body is absolutely hilariously bad, but it's still pretty good. So let's take this out. This is basically what unwrapping does. This is basically what unwrapping is. And again, if you use procedural texturing, basically that's actually I should have left these bodies. That shouldn't care too much, right? Because procedural modeling means really you don't care about this whatsoever because you have a base color, and the base color will, so as you can see, this body looks good, this body looks pretty good as well, even though the shape is messed up because I created it that way. But what really happens is it's Blender knows this geometry and tells it, okay, but you have to be this way, and it'll basically do that. And that's going to work if you just stay in Blender, yes, but we won't really want to do that. Most probably you want to take your body to another program to use it, like Unreal or Unity, or maybe, I don't know, to get it into Photoshop or whatever kind of editor you have. Or maybe other 3D software, I don't know. But the thing is, you can't just procedurally make it because this will not stick. So when you want to get out of Blender, what you have to do is actually have the bodies with bake textures. So the textures need to be, and listen to this carefully, they will have to be printed basically on an image just like this, so that when you have the body, you also load the image with it, and so the texture knows exactly where to stay on your body. And if we have them procedurally, you can bet it doesn't do that out of the gate. It has to be on a mesh, just like we saw a little earlier. So it has to be, on a mesh like this. We have to tell it, you have to stay on this. I need you to stay on this, because when the materials will bake over this mesh, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we needed to do. So this is basically how unwrapping goes. And this has been quite a lot of filming already. So let's take these bodies, let's just get them out of the way. And for now, what I need you to concentrate on is not this, but it's, let me take this out and get in the viewport here. because what we need to do is unwrap our bodies. Um, and basically, we have a lot of unwrapping to do. And I'm gonna try to show you most of them, but I'm not gonna do all of them on camera because these are a lot, and I think after a few of them you kind of get the hang of it. And I think that's also better for you to learn. So select the body, press dash so that we see only this body, and go into edit mode, and just as I told you, select like the parts where basically the texture will have to go over a corner, like a sharp edge. Those are the ones we need to select. Actually, this one should have been like this, shouldn't it? Much better. Okay, so select this, Control E, and mark as a seam. Perfect. Select also the middle part there, Control E, mark as seam. Also, there's an edge there, but I don't think you can see it right there. So also Control E, mark seam, and also this one should have been here. I know I don't like it. Yeah, no, I do like it. Wait, sorry. I saw the effect is going to do. That's it? No, it doesn't. So, no. Okay. So select this one as well. Mark as seam. This is again one of those parts. I'm not gonna speed up because it's the first time we do this. I want you guys to pay attention and I want you guys to be able to follow. So, take your time. Don't hurry. If you don't understand it from the get-go, just stop the video, go back to the part you think um, you know, you got lost, and come back when you feel you're okay. So, selecting all these, it's basically going to be able to tell our texture where our cylinder, is gonna be cut so that a 2D image can go perfectly onto it. All right. And for now, I'm gonna leave it like this actually because I want you guys to see something. So we have this, and now when you go into edit mode, select everything, and this is how it looks by default. Again, not that bad considering because Blender knows how to do it. And if you press U and unwrap it, it's gonna look like this. It's a little better. Basically, these things are called islands, right? And islands are what you will put over a texture so that it takes the color necessary for the texture. Actually, with a better explanation, what islands really are is, those parts of the body, like these represents the parts of the body and tells the texture exactly where to stay on the body. That's basically it. And I'm gonna demonstrate it a little later when we actually play with some textures. But up until then, there's no need. Now, what I did want to show you is that this is not exactly good yet. And the way to show this is if you go here at the display, at the overlays, right? You can select the display stretch. This menu does not appear here because this is different. This is just for the UVs. And you go here, display stretch. And what's with dark blue? What's with this blue? This is good. This is not stretching, right? Whatever is with this kind of light blue towards green or yellow or stuff, that's stretching. That means these regions around here are kind of stretched out, and that's not really good. Another way we can see that is if we go right here to the image, we can say this UV test, and instead of blank, we will actually generate a UV grid, and yeah, let's put this to 2K. It doesn't really matter, but you can just multiply this. So you can, select both of them, press on the first one, hold the left click, and get it down to the other one, and then just multiply with 2, and it will do the math by itself. Blender's pretty smart at that. Okay, so this is that, and we have the grid. How about that? And to see it on our actual body, Let's actually go to the not the shading actually. Let's just get the shading to us. Am I right? Come on. Well, sometimes Blender just doesn't want to do what we need it to do, does it? Finally. Okay. And we need the shader editor. Here we are. And we already have the material here, but we don't want that, right? We want a new material, which is also gonna be called UV test. It's not able to write it. And of course, we need an image texture, which will give us the color, and Control T to go on the UVs. And instead of pressing on open or new, we press on the icon here, which will give us all the images we have right now in our Blender, and press on the UV test. And what will this do? If we go into the material, will show us exactly how our UV grid is sitting on our body. So press A again to see everything. And I think you've seen this before if you've, I don't know, if you actually follow some artists, some 3D artists, that especially the characters, you've definitely have seen this before. So that's what we get, right? And as you can see, our material is stretching. So you can, observe it here where it's kind of normal. It's a pretty normal pattern. And then here where it's absolutely destroyed, it doesn't know what to do. Here it's perfect. Here it's doing a great job. And this is the front. This is the one here. And here, most probably, this is for sure one of these two. Um, and the question is how to fix it. Well, you may have to make it so that it, folds even better over your image. So the way to do that, Alt D on this edge, and I'll explain you exactly why we chose this. Control E, mark seam, A, U to unwrap, and let's unwrap it. And look at this. Look at how beautiful this looks. This is, if you ask me, amazing. Yeah, let me just talk about my own work that is amazing. Well, that works, I guess. Okay, having this, what else can we do, right? So let's actually press the dash and see our thing. So I'm gonna show you just one more little thing because I'm gonna wrap this up a little earlier than usual, and in case we, need it, need it. We're going to do the next part to basically unwrap everything in the next video. Basically what happens is some objects, for example, are going to be like super simplistic objects. We don't need them to be unwrapped perfectly because this you don't have to do for each and every single object, right? There is one more way really to unwrap this. So let's choose an object that I don't think it's going to be, amazingly seen in our scene. No pun intended. And that's, let me think which one would be. Because we have quite a lot of them. And the wagons are actually not gonna be one of those. Let's actually take these windows. The small windows, I think are a pretty good way to describe this. So press tab to go into edit mode, A to select everything. And as you can see, this stretches, right? This is not a great UV thing yet. Also, we could begin with get a material. So from the material tab, press right here on the left side and go to the UV test material. And this is basically testing. Actually, let's dash it so we can see the body. And what's actually stretching is this part right here, right? Because we didn't sim it yet. And the way to sim this and not waste so much time is when you press U. So A, U, and instead of unwrap, because we don't have sims, so if you press unwrap, it doesn't know what to do. We'll have the Smart UV Project. What Smart UV Project does is basically, well, Blender can unwrap stuff for us as well, but it's not going to do it perfectly well, and for more complex bodies, I definitely don't recommend this. But for small bodies that are not exactly in front of your camera, you don't really see that well, and also are a little, this is not a very complex geometry. Blender will do perfectly fine with it. So if you press it, you'll get this menu right here. You can select the margin between them, like to have a little bit of a distance between the islands. Um, Also the area weight, I never changed this to be honest with you. And basically you kind of want this to remain this way, and you press OK, and there you have it. Blender unwrapped this perfectly for us. We don't need to do more than that. This is it. This is what we needed to do, right? So this is as far as it needs to go sometimes. For some of the bodies, again, I don't recommend this on all of them. The cylinder, I would recommend to not do this. I think Blender can do a good job to it because, again, it's a pretty simplistic geometry. But the problem with it really would be that Blender, well, it may make some mistakes. And the thing is, this is right in front. This is kind of the main thing you'll see because it's the main cylinder. So, you kind of don't want to mess it up. You want it to be perfectly well done. And yeah, this is it. This is basically what you get with that. All right. For example, if we keep talking about these kind of examples, I would not leave the rim to Blender, right? The rim is, well, we extruded it and we did a lot of details to it. I don't want Blender to touch this one. We're going to do it by ourselves. But this is what I was telling you. We're going to do some of them, but most of them you can do them by yourself. They're not that hard to do, and if you ask me personally, I think this is going to be a perfect exercise for you to get to Blender. And let's take also these windows, for example. It's basically the same thing, and as you can see, the mesh is almost similar. Do the exact same thing, and there you go. It's gonna be good, it's gonna be perfect, and it's gonna have exactly what you need. And if you go to the UV test material, there you have it. Nothing better than this can do. Now, here's a thing though, because we didn't talk about that, and I just realized about it. It's the edges, those seams we're creating. This right here is not a glitch, and it's not an error either. Okay, because some of you might have seen it even on your object, and you freak out because you think you've done something wrong. You have not. Okay, what this is, it's the seam itself. Unfortunately, we cannot hide them. Okay, uh, basically these are going to show up because they are the corners. That's exactly where we cut. So basically the image, as you can see, let me show you kind of this. So this, actually, let me do the UV sync selection, right? Basically, if I select a vertex here, it's gonna be selected over here as well. It's synchronizing them, right? So with that being said, let's take this, and as you can see, it's this part, right? And that's exactly what's happening here, because look, this is a 2D plane basically. This is just this much, and this part, I will bet you that it's this one, or well, maybe not that one, but this one right there. No? Oh, it's on the other side, so it's one of these up here. Yeah. Okay, so it was this one up there. Anyway, you kind of got a point. It had to be one of those little, very small rectangles. So this is also 2D. So this goes up till, well, basically here, while this goes till here. This distance between them, well, not the distance, but basically the edges are not perfectly matched, and you can't really perfectly match them. This seam will happen for every one of your bodies. Now, there are a few ways to go around it. So the first one is, and this is why I wanted you to see this, that's why we did this bottom part. That's why we selected that as our seam, because that's gonna be noticed. Okay, if we look very close, we actually do see some not mistakes, but some stretching going on, and that's because of the seam. Because the seam is there, there's nothing really too much we can do about it. The one option, right, would be for us to like actually add geometry. That helps, but again, not too much. You'll still see some problems. You could, in theory at least, you know, unwrap it some more. Again, would help, not too much, but it would, give it a little chance to fight a little more. But I don't recommend it. I think it's not worth it, not good. Just don't. So the reason we chose the bottom, it's pretty simple. We don't see it. And that's how you basically want your UV unwraps really to work. And actually, see this one here? This is not a good one because people can see this one, and actually it's going to be kind of in front of your camera. I don't think it's that good. So let's Control E. We can clear the seam. So basically we'll eliminate that as being one of our seams. A, U, and let's unwrap it one more time. And this is still good because again, like I said earlier, this is perfect. This is not having problems. And the reason for it, really, it's because we have a seam right here as well. So not just here, but also in the middle. And that, we don't really care about it because the lead covers it. So that's what I wanted to tell you. You can do two things about it. You can either hide it by making the seam in a position where, well, it won't be really seen on your object or body. Or two, you can put something over it, as is the example with our lead being put over this zone right here to basically mask a little bit of our possible mistakes from the seam. So yeah, that is kind of it. You can also, for example, cover mistakes with stuff like I'm trying to think. Um, I guess one of the best examples would be the sewing, from clothes. Um, well, you can do something like that, right? Like you can use the seams kind of in your advantage there. So put the seams exactly where you know you're going to also put the sewing, because basically you're going to hide it with it. And yeah, also, for metals, the what's it called, the welding point really will also help. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of how you do the unwrapping. This is kind of why unwrapping is also very important. Again, we will do this in the next video. The next video will basically be all about unwrapping our object and starting to put materials on them. And there we'll go a little bit more on the importance of materials and some other stuff that I have prepared for you. And yeah, that kind of wraps it up. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. Thank you so much for showing up again to one of my videos. And don't forget, please, if you want, leave a like on this video, click the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Let's hit that 50 mark. Come on, you can be one of the first 50 people that ever subscribe to this channel. Let's do that. Come on, we can do it. I'm sure of it. And yes, I was about to say, the S word, but I don't know if YouTube doesn't let me say it. It doesn't matter though. So, that's kind of it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. That's kind of it for me. Have a great night, have a great day, and you know what? You're amazing, and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Bye, guys.